Tiny is one of 3 surviving broad gauge locomotives in the world, and the only survivor from the broad gauge Great Western Railway. Tiny was built in January 1868 for the South Devon Railway by Sarah and Company of Penryn in Cornwall. It was delivered to Sutton Docks by ship. The South Devon Railway was taken over by the Great Western in 1876, and Tiny was given the GWR number 2180. The little locomotive was used to shunt in the yard at Sutton Docks until 1883, when it was put to one side as being too small for the task. It was then used as part of the hydraulic test apparatus at Newton Abbot engine shed. One of the flanged wheels was removed and replaced with a pulley, so it could be used as a spare stationary engine to work the pump for boiler testing. With the centenary of the Stockton and Darlington Railway in 1925, thought turned to the little locomotive, and the opportunity was taken to rescue the diminutive machine and to quote-unquote restore it. It was placed on a plinth at Newton Abbot railway station and went on public display in 1927. Tiny certainly lives up to its name. The driving wheels are 3 feet in diameter and are driven by a pair of vertical cylinders measuring only 9 by 12 inches, and they drive one of the axles via a spur gear. 80 imperial gallons of water is carried in a tank beneath the footplate. The vertical boiler has a working pressure of only 50 psi, and the locomotive has a tractive effort of 1,300 force-pounds. Tiny is in the care of the National Railway Museum as part of the National Collection, and is currently on loan and on display at the South Devon Railway in its museum at Buckfastleigh. 8 very similar locomotives were built by the Avonside Engine Company of Bristol at around the same time. But what of the 2 other survivors? They were operated on the Harbour Railway at Ponta Delgada, on the island of Salmigue in the Azores. The Harbour Railway opened in 1861 and was laid to a gauge of 7 feet and a quarter inches using Brunel bridge rails. The consulting engineer for the harbour project was Sir John Rennie of London, and an 040 broad gauge box tank locomotive was supplied by Neilson and Company in 1862 as their works number 697 to help construct the harbour breakwater. Amazingly enough, it was still in existence in the 1960s. The harbour breakwater wasn't completed until 1900, and the surviving locomotives are both 040 saddle tanks. The oldest was built by Black Hawthorne and Company of Gateshead as their works number 766 of 1883. The second was built by Falcon of Loughborough as their works number 165 of 1888. The Harbour Railway was last used in 1973, and the 3 locomotives were put on outside display in the garden of the museum. In 1994, however, they were put under cover, but sadly the 1862 Neilson was in such poor condition as there was nothing much left to save. The future for these 2 rare survivors is sadly uncertain. They are in very poor external condition, but at least they are under cover and safe from the elements. I hope you have enjoyed this video on 3 broad gauge survivors, and if you have, please leave a comment below. Please also like, share and subscribe and click the notification bell. If you would like to find out more about Victorian railway locomotives, you can check out my various books, including Locomotives of the Victorian Railway from Amberley Publishing. If you would like early access to Rail Story content, you can do so through Patreon. And I'd like to thank Station Master tier patrons Joshua Anderson and Gianluberto Lauri for helping make this video possible. And I look forwards to seeing you all in 2024 on Rail Story.